this is
Ricky, the live stopped. Hang on. It's just started now. Sorry. Hello and welcome to the Late Night Veteran Show, episode 69. Dave, hand it over to you.
Cheers, thank you. So episode 69, banter's real, stories are raw, and brews are always strong. I'm your host, Dave Hackett, ex-Royal Military Police and AGC SPS for 21 years. Medically discharged in 2021 due to lower limb injuries and PTSD. But as I said, service never really ends there. It sort of just changes shape. Tonight we've got 3 absolute awesome guests lined up, veterans with powerful stories, sharp insights, and plenty of laughs to share. First up, we've got Ricky Vet joining us, top bloke who's doing some amazing work. He's managing the Veterans Village at Castle Court, a place which will make a real difference in the veteran community and beyond. But before we bring him in, we're going to roll a short video to give you a better look at what the Veteran Village is all about.
So guys, just a little update on Castle Court, the homeless veterans village, see how we're getting on. So this is our courtyard area, if you like. Obviously it's all plain at the moment, like a blank canvas, because we want the people in here to make it home and, you know, plant plants or whatever and make it nice. Got all the lines painted now for the parking, and this will be the main reception I'm coming up to now. Obviously all that there is the all accommodation. So this is main reception. So you'll come through these doors. Obviously there'll be thingy secured here. That's like the reception window, if you like, and that'll be where the staff are. And there'll be other offices. Yeah, so it's like the main reception, like a little area in there. And then we're going to have all like other staff storage and all this kind of stuff in these rooms here and offices. As I've said, it's a little bit of a mess at the moment, but this is the main communal room where you can sit and watch TV, chill out. This will all be like kitchen area. And through there would be all kitchen area. And again, I've not showed these rooms before, but just if anyone hasn't seen, this is like a standard room. And like, look at the view there. Absolutely beautiful where we're located. And then nice big shower there. Ensuite, beautiful. Another one of the rooms here. Again, all these chairs have been donated. If anyone does want to donate, the link is in my bio in the link tree to help us kit out the rooms with cupboards and beds, etc. for the homeless.
Yeah, thank you for that video, Ricky. Ricky, welcome to the Late Night Veteran Show. It's your first time on. Tell us a bit more about Castle Court Village, please.
Yeah, so so basically the building was abandoned for 15 years. Before that, it was a school, and it was a nursing home after that. Like I said, the building had just been run down, and it was just been sat there 15 years. So the people who were funding it, Keith and Laura, basically come up with this fantastic idea. It was originally going to be a hotel, and they come up with this fantastic idea of opening it to be a homeless veterans village. The place itself actually has 48 rooms, which we were originally going to use all 48 rooms, but then we decided that actually the 48 rooms, when you're trying to, because it's not just a case of getting these veterans off the street, throwing them in a room and then leaving them to fester. You know, there's a lot to, if these people are homeless, the chances are they've got other issues, and so we need to offer the best care we can, from whether it's drug, alcohol rehabilitation, whether it's mental health therapy, and also just general. And we're even going to do things like cooking lessons, because some of these people come out of the forces, like me included, and you don't know how to cook, because in the military you get fed, even like paying the bills. I think people struggle with all this kind of stuff, and it's a case of all round like care, whereby there'll be a routine. Up at say 8:30 in the morning, you get up, have a bit of like a board meeting if you like, so we can discuss what's going on in the day, whatever appointments people have and all that kind of stuff. And we'll also do things for the community, because we want it to be where we're not a burden. We don't want people to think, oh, we've got a load of troubled, because this is some of the concerns of the locals. They were thinking, oh, we're going to have a load of troubled. I know this sounds horrible, but they're thinking we're going to have a load of troubled soldiers with PTSD, and it's going to cause problems in the village. And we were saying, no, this isn't the case. We're going to, we're going to have routine. We want to be an asset to the village where we're going out and doing bits for the community, whether that's going and painting some fences for the allotments, whether it's doing a tidy up in the graveyard, whatever it might be. We're doing things for the community so that they see us with our high vises on, with our logo, and think, oh, hang on, these guys are actually, and girls are doing something positive, and we're getting them. The idea is obviously get them fully on track, and then help them then apply for like social housing and all this kind of stuff, and just basically get them back on, get their life back on track.
Brilliant, absolutely fantastic idea, mate. And we're going to back you all the way and give you the help and support as much as we can. Have you got any questions in before we bring the next one in, Dave? You're on mute.
There's always one. So what's been sort of biggest challenge so far, would you say, Ricky?
So at the moment, and it's still an ongoing problem, is actually with the council. So because we're going to be nationwide in the sense that we will accept veterans from obviously all services, but also from across the UK. So if you're from London, it doesn't matter, we'll take you in. However, the problem you've got, as always, there's always loopholes to jump through. The council are kind of saying, well, if you have, like say, we're only taking 32 veterans now, but they're saying, right, 32 people, that means doctors, if you're taking doctor spaces, dentist spaces, basically they're trying to say that we're going to be a burden on the immunities. And we're kind of saying, well, hang on, these lads and lasses have served their country, and you're saying that they're going to be a burden on, and it's kind of, it feels so disrespectful to us that they're saying, so these veterans are homeless after serving their country, and now you're saying that it's only 32 veterans. I think you could have a family of 5 move in their village. You know what I mean? That's 32 is not, in the grand scheme of a council, 32, and it's not going to be funded by the local council. It's going to be from central government, so it's not even costing them to have home. Obviously, we'll get an allowance per head per week, but that's from central government, not from the local council. And honestly, we've got people in the council, so luckily we're in with them, but it is an effort. And as I previously mentioned, now I was spoke to Al Kearns, the Minister for Veteran Affairs, and he's looking at coming to open it up. So it's good to have him on board as well, because obviously he's a powerful person for the voice for veterans. So we will get there, but it's just, like always, whenever you're dealing with the council, it's hard work.
True.
Yeah, thanks for that, Ricky. Guys, Ricky's donation link is there. I put it in the comments as well. What he's doing at this Veterans Village, Castle Court Village, is absolutely incredible. So please, if you can, dig deep and show your support by donating to Ricky and his team. What they're doing is absolutely a brilliant job. So next guest we're going to have on is going to be Adam Diver. We will all have a chat at the end, but let's bring Adam Diver on.
Evening.
Adam, evening. Welcome to the Late Night Veterans Show. How are we doing? Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah. Just before you introduce yourself, I'd just like to a couple of shout outs. One to my daughter. I'm not in the UK at the moment. I'm visiting parents. They're not very well, so my daughter's staying up. So Florence, she's staying up for this, and get yourself to bed as soon as possible. And the next one is to my old platoon, 9 platoon. All right, C Company 1QLR. All right, hey lads, you can get to bed as well. All right. So my name's Adam. I spent 27 years in the army. Went to Iraq a couple of times, Afghanistan a couple of times, Northern Ireland, Bosnia. Climbed through the ranks from private soldier all the way to captain. I was a garrison sergeant major in Warminster in 2016, give or take. I got out of the army about 4 years ago. and I'm now a therapist, and I look after veterans with poor mental health, PTSD, depression, anxiety, and I'm also one of the directors of Healthier Heroes, which pretty much links into what you're doing at the village. They've been doing it for around about 5 years now, looking after veterans who have not doing great. It could be alcohol, it could be drugs, homelessness, and they're housing people in Burnley, and they've really shone a light on the veterans community and doing a brilliant job, and that's Andy and Rio. So we can touch on them as we go through. So yeah, that's a little bit about me, but ask away any questions you want, and then yeah, we'll take it from there.
Dave, you got any questions? Ricky?
Not at the moment. Like I said, I'll introduce myself. I didn't actually introduce myself because obviously I was on about Castlecourt. So I'm sure most people probably know me from within the veteran community. I'm quite known, obviously, on my TikTok. But for those that don't know me, I served 12 years in the army in the ROC as a driver. Then went on to bomb disposal with the 11 EOD regiment. I served Northern Ireland, Iraq, Afghanistan, and the Buckshee Sunshine Tour in Cyprus on the UN tour in Cyprus. And that's my background.
Brilliant. I've got a question for you, Adam. So what mental health support do you offer? Is it just veterans, or is it civilians as well, or is it mainly focused on veterans, and how do people go about contacting you? We'll put your link in the description and the website once we are done as well.
Yeah. So my caseload is pretty deep. I usually have about 30 people on my caseload. It's civilians and military. So I work for the NHS, but I work for a company called Talking Therapies. So if a veteran does do a self-referral, they'll come and see me within a 2-week period. If they go through other channels, we've got Op Courage as well, which we deal with, which is another side of the mental health support that the military can access. So pretty much it's a bit of a, I won't say 50-50 military and civilians. I usually have around about 4 or 5 military personnel on my books, if you will, on my caseload. Army, Navy, RAF. So it's a bit of a mix, really. And they'll come to me, like I said, with PTSD, depression, anxiety, and then we'll go through treatment sessions and then see if things stick. If they don't, then we'll direct them on for different sorts of therapy, EMDR, maybe high intense therapy, whatever it may be. So, like I said, I've been doing it for around about 4 years now, give or take, and then dealing with the veterans community quite deep with Andy and Rio at Healthy Heroes. So one of the things I've been doing is looking into a welfare check for veterans, and what I mean by that is that I started to do a poll on veterans of all the people who used to come and see me, and also as well on loads of different platforms, on how many veterans have actually been contacted by their unit when they left, and you'll be surprised that there wasn't many. Of units contacted them, and probably, you know what I mean, to their credit, they've got other things to do. When you are in, you've got to look at manning, you're going on tour, you've got your focus. So I get it, but the issue that we've seen on the mental health side is that, and you guys as well, we're going to start housing them as well as Healthy Heroes. There's a gap, all right. The people watching this, civilians watching this, being a veteran. To understand being a veteran, you've got to be a veteran first of all. So if you're still serving, you have an idea, but you haven't got it all together. But you only get being a veteran once you are a veteran. So once you are a veteran, then you understand all the barriers that come in place when you get out into Civvy Street. You've got to navigate family, friends, relationships, housing, job. So it's massive, and then you get all this as soon as you leave. Now, what we're asking for is my team. It's only a small team. There's about 6 of us, all vets. We're asking the government, and I'll talk about that in a second on our contacts, what we've done, is to implement a check for veterans when you leave. All right. So the devil's in the detail. I fully understand that. So 6 months check, 1 year check, to phone you up and to say, right, have you got a job? Where you living? Are you registered with the NHS? Basically all the basic stuff and the links within your area, because if we can capture veterans once they leave, and there is this golden circle area where veterans, they have this honeymoon period, and then it starts, some, not always, and that's why you start your village up, things start to then fall apart for different reasons. So we're asking the government to take responsibility and say, right, okay, then you have served your country, we have trained you, all right, and let's be honest here, and it's not like being like sort of like blowing it up, but we have been trained to kill people, and that's not normal, and you don't get untrained. So we're asking the government to carry on that responsibility and say, right, okay, then have you started to settle into civilian life and give this phone call, this welfare check? So me and my team have been to government about 2 years ago, and we proposed it, which it really went well. All right, they took it on board and they listened, but the change of government, things started to die down a little bit. So we've just implemented it probably about 3 weeks ago, maybe a bit longer, to the local MP, and she's took it on board. So hopefully in the next couple of months after summer recess, you're going to see some movement within government and taking it on board to put this welfare check and basically hopefully put it in place. Working with that, we're working with a doctor called Dr. Julian. Now, Dr. Julian works with, he works a platform, basically a mental health platform, so you can monitor your own mental health. And what we're trying to do is get this platform introduced while you're serving, just like you monitor your physical health. So you monitor your mental health as you're in the army or forces. And then when you transition out, you can still have this platform and you can do all the questionnaires that I would use in my therapy sessions. And then if you're not feeling great, you can then self-refer if required. And like I didn't touch on, the reason why we want this welfare check is that we are we are trained to work alone, to be resilient, to not ask for help. And that's why a lot of veterans don't ask for help until it's, I'm not to say it's too late, but until they're at rock bottom. So we're trying to stop that. And that's what I'm doing at the moment. And I've carried on a little bit too long, but there you go.
I was just want to say one thing as well. So I've just found out now, actually, just before we went live on air, that basically the Castlecourt Veterans Village, we're actually looking at being run by Healthier Heroes, which, because we like their role model, we went and visited quite a few different places, and all these places we just felt that they weren't really looking after the people in there, and it felt more like they were farming them, just basically getting the money, not really doing a lot for them. But after visiting Healthier Heroes, their model they've got there is fantastic, and I've been there and visited, and everything they've got in place, because we were going to run it ourselves, but actually we haven't got you learn a lot of things and mistakes you make on the way, and they've actually been running 5 years now, and they've learned the mistakes that we would have had to make. So we're hoping all goes well, Healthier Heroes will be running it, because they've got the expertise that we haven't, because you learn, you make a lot of mistakes on the way, and you learn things and implement new things, and the care they've got in place is even like doing Reiki, and because she's quite spiritual, isn't she, Rio?
Yeah, you've got a load of things going on there. They've got, like you said, they've got like a daily program. You know what I mean? They'll do cooking. They've got their own therapists as well. They've got their own counsellors. So they're all self-sufficient. And they're in Burnley, if people didn't know. But the community has welcomed them massively. And if you go onto any of their profiles, LinkedIn, Facebook, etc., they have done so well. Like you said, you make mistakes at the beginning, and then you learn from them. And then that's what Andy and Rio will be able to tell you. You'll be able to go like feet first, and then not make the mistakes that if they made them. All right, just make sure and go forward with it. But yeah, they're an amazing couple. With
I'm really, like I say, they're fantastic. Obviously, we went down and visited them. They've been through to visit us, and literally they loved it. Like when they got there, they loved the locations where we're located. We've literally got the beach a 5-minute drive away, and we're on the gateway to the North Yorkshire Moors. So we've literally got, and where we're located, we're away from a lot of temptation. I think the only thing where they are, there's a lot of temptation, like pubs and clubs and things like that, but where we're located, we're in the middle of nowhere. There's one pub and that's it. So there's no real temptations on your doorstep. If you're struggling with alcohol or gambling, there's not really anything on your doorstep.
Thanks for that, guys. I've just brought Nico in. Nico, welcome to the Late Night Veteran Show. It's your first time in. I didn't mean to interrupt you guys, but Nico's been sat there in the background. We'll all have a general chat at the end and have a discussion. Nico, introduce yourself. Tell us.
Cheers for having me on this. This is the first podcast I've ever actually been on, first live chat I've ever really done. But yeah, I'm Nico. I spent 12 years in the artillery. I got out last January, so I've been out a year and a half now, just give or take. It's been a bit of a journey for myself. But yeah, I appreciate you having me on. No
worries. Dave, you got any questions for any of the guys? There was one question in the chat, actually. You can all answer it if you. Yeah, I have a question after. Well, I think it was for Adam. I have a question. After 27 years, how are you coping being out?
Do you know what? I actually thought when I left, I thought, do you know what? I pretty much got this boxed off. I'm done all right. I went back to university towards the end of my career. Luckily, I didn't start off as a therapist. My local college basically hired me when I was in transition to teach. So I started to teach health and safety, believe it or not, which was really exciting. But the college really embraced me. It was full of ex-military, and I thought after about 6 months, I'm doing all right. And then you just start to realise, you start to think like what you're missing. And it is, I don't know if there's an advert that came out years ago. I don't know if it was an RAF advert, something to do with veterans. And there's a guy stood in like the brew room in sort of office, and he's trying to have a bit of banter with somebody. And I always think of that because it is like that. It's a completely different format. And people are on different wavelengths. It doesn't mean that the military is better or civilians worse. It's not that. It's just different, and it takes time. And that's why people are opening up establishments like the Village and Healthy Heroes, because it is different. And that, like I said at the beginning, we need sort of like, I won't say protecting, but it needs to be understood at a deep level. And yeah, it is a struggle, not on a day-to-day basis. It's not. It's a little bit like, I do a lot of some bereavement counselling and therapy. It's a little bit like bereavement, where you come in and out of it. So you'll have a day where you think, oh blimey, what are my mates doing? I did this X, Y, and Z, and then you'll see something in Civvy Street, and you'll be like, what the flipping heck is going on here? That wouldn't, you know what I mean? They'd either get sacked or something would happen to them straight away. It's just different, and it comes like that. So it comes in waves. You can have weeks where you're on a high, everything's all right, and then you'll have a couple of days and you start thinking about the past. I was quite lucky when I left. I had a bit of depression, bit of anxiety. I didn't have PTSD, all right, but I've got loads of friends who are struggling, who've got PTSD, and then really, really severe depression and anxiety. So yeah, I would say it's a little bit about bereavement. It comes in waves, and it comes like this, I would say. So yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking on that as well. So I was doing all right. I was still on medication. I was doing all right with my mental health, and I've had a real big step back now, because most of my followers will know that I was in a car crash. I was in a car crash, not my fault. And then when I got out the car, because the airbag deployed and everything, next minute a car come ploughing in. I jumped out the way, the car hit me, knocked me over. I would hit the deck, and then I was like trying to crawl to get out there. What I would have said, the kill zone, because it felt like I thought it was going to be a pile up. And so then after that, that's kind of re-triggered all my mental health now. And now it's completely set me back again, to the point where I got therapy for another few months, and I can get back in the car again now, but it's kind of knocked my whole mental health, has gone real down to the bottom again. So now I've just been to try and get some more through my insurance. I'm trying to get through the claim that I'm putting. I'm trying to get some psychiatric help paid for, rather than just going for the NHS, because I find it's not that great, to be honest.
I think we can all agree on that. I just want to go back to Nico a minute. Nico, how did you find leaving the military?
Yeah, everyone's mentioned some really good points. So for myself, I remember I've spoken to quite a few people, but leaving the military for me, it was an accumulation of a lot of things. And so something happened back in 2021. and the way that the army went about it, it wasn't particularly the best. Now, I completely understand how we are kind of just a number in the military, and that didn't bother me. You know, I was in the army. I understood what I was getting into, but it was just, for me, it came to the point of, you know, at the end of the day, our chain of command are humans, and they're the people that are in charge of you. And if you're, you know, if people didn't treat the situation correctly, and it just came to a point where I needed to leave. So, and then when I left, family life kind of went a bit upside down. My partner left, and then I left my job because I couldn't see my daughter, and she needed me at the time because it was pretty toxic. So then, yeah, I was jobless for a little bit. Ended up bouncing around job to job for the next 8 months. I've lost a couple of jobs through no fault of my own. One of them tried to blame me being a veteran as a reason to leave. So I was a PTI. I went into doing coaching and stuff. And when he eventually decided to get rid of me, he kind of said to me that me being direct, you know, when taking fizz was the wrong approach or whatever, even though he employed me to be that kind of person. And don't get me wrong, I fully understood how to speak to civilians. And, you know, I know it's completely different talking to the lads on fizz compared to taking an F-45 session, for example. They're two completely different things. I just don't think he wanted me there. So yeah, then I was jobless for a bit. And where I think I've struggled the most is I didn't really get to adjust straight away, purely because of the shock of my partner leaving at the time. So because that was pretty toxic, I had to deal with that. Social services were involved, and, you know, I've never really had time to like sit back and think about what's been going on. And I wouldn't really say like 2021 was not an army problem. Like what happened in 2021 was nothing to do with the army. I was deployed on a Makataski and something happened, but it wasn't the military's fault. But that still haunts me now slightly. And I went to DCMH. Like for me personally, it's just a personal opinion, therapy didn't really work for me. Speaking to someone didn't really talk to me. I've learned now, where I am, you know, a year and a half down the line, that I think reflection's key. I think when you look through all the struggles, everyone's story is so unique. You speak to so many different veterans. We've all got a unique story. You know, we've all got our own unique backgrounds, what we've done, where we've been. You know, people that suffer through anxiety or trauma, whatever it may be, doesn't even necessarily mean it's army orientated. You know, a lot of the time, especially when I first joined the army, I met a few people that had been through some stuff that weren't army related, and, you know, I used to always hear the phrase of like, how can you be suffering? You didn't do an Afghan, or how can you be suffering? You've not done anything. You know, I don't think that's the case these days. I think everyone's story is quite unique. But I think for myself, I found like reflection's quite key on like yourself as an individual. I found through therapy and counseling that revisiting emotions every single time wasn't really working for myself. Like, you know, having to go back to that specific point in time to revisit and live through it every single time, it didn't really work for me. So personally, for myself, I just took a step back, especially after this last year and a half, and thought, right, what do I need to do to get myself back on track? You know, what can I do as an individual for me, not for anyone else, for me, to get onto the right path, you know? And it just included a hell of a lot of change, where it be like the last time I had a drop of alcohol was December 27th. Like I don't drink anymore. So I'm like over 200 odd days sober now. That's had a very good positive impact on my mental well-being. A week after I stopped drinking, I stopped vaping cold turkey. It was the worst decision I'd ever made, especially because I got diagnosed with like mild trauma and anxiety from DCMH. And I only found out after quitting vaping cold turkey that you're not meant to go cold turkey if you suffer with like anxiety and stuff, because apparently, because you get your dopamine hit from vaping and stuff, your brain's it gets really confused because it's looking for everywhere. I was in fight or flight mode for 8 weeks straight, I think. Like I was, from the moment my eyes opened until the moment I went to bed, I was in pure panic mode, and it's the worst feeling I have ever gone through in my life. But it subsided, and I got through it. It's fine. You know, we're very robust as humans, right?
I don't think many veterans can say they were 220 days sober. So well done for that. You got
and do you know what? It sounds really stupid. I'm not proud of it. It's alcohol. Like it's alcohol. What do you know what I mean? I wasn't an alcoholic. I didn't like who I was when I drank. I was never, You know, I never got into fights, drinking or anything like that. I wasn't that kind of individual, but I just didn't like who I was when I drank, and I didn't like who it made me when I was hungover with my daughter. You know, like she's my why, she's my reason, and I always try to stick by with the whole. If what I'm about to do now, does that impact me and my daughter in a positive way? You know, and if it's a no, I tend to try and stay away from it. Don't get me wrong, we're only human. You know, we're all going to slip up. We're all going to make mistakes. But 9 times out of 10, if it doesn't benefit myself or my daughter, I'm not doing it, because it will just, I know what I'm like. You know, I've got an addictive personality, let's say. So I need to be careful with, like, especially with who I hang around with. That was a very big impact in my life as well, of people I hung around with.
I think was the thing. I was going to say, I think with the thing with the military, let's all be honest on this. It's it was when I was in, very alcohol heavy job. Like you're always every reason to get a beer down here. Like it's literally you'd go out drinking and block parties. It was like, I swear I used to drink about 4 nights out of 7 in the army. It was terrible. Like you basically bought like functioning alcoholics in the army. Well, it felt like that when I was in.
100%. I mean, even up until I was leaving, but you know, it's still a big drinking culture. And don't get me wrong, like, yeah, it's encouraged, but we're all individuals. We should all be able to say no to a drink. But we all know, you know, when you're in that environment, when you're with the boys, you know, when you're having a good time, you just don't. You don't think of what can happen after.
But that's the thing. That's the thing, isn't it, with the military? Like, say, because you if you live in the block, you're a group of young lads full of testosterone, living in a block together, away from home potentially. And what else is there to do? It's like, it's just you know, if you're down south, if you're based down in, say, Tidworth, and you live in Scotland, you're not going to be travelling home every weekend. You might go, you know, every other weekend. So naturally, you're just going to get drunk all weekend, aren't you? Because it's either that or just sit in your bedroom, your room in the block. Should I say? I think, yeah, it was so much drinking in the army. It is bad. Like,
I think it's just mess life and club life, isn't it, on the weekend?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
The bathtub used to just be full up on a weekend. The bathtub would be full with ice and just full of beer.
After I left the army, I'm going to be open and honest, because this is what we're about. I went down a bad path. I started hitting cocaine. I had a massive cocaine addiction, and then I moved on to crack cocaine. I've been clean now of crack cocaine for 5 months. It's still a battle. I'm still going to therapy, but it's caused me all these types of different trauma and spiritual trauma. And I was overthinking. I thought I had superpowers. It was just driving me insane and bringing me back. And it was just absolutely mental. But I just want to touch on what Nico said, that therapy didn't work for him, but it depends what type of therapy and then who you're working with, because there is different types. Like I did a Spectrum for Change, which is a quantum physics one that worked for me, but I also did a faith-based one, military reboot. That didn't work for me, although there is high recommendations for that as well. But like, you know, you've got Adam there doing therapy as well. You've got to find the right therapy for you. Am I right in saying that, Adam?
Yeah. You've also got to look at like the different types of therapy, but where you are. So if you've got, let's say, trauma based, and you've got something in the past, PTSD, and it, like you said about that, you don't have to be military orientated, your incident, but you might need counselling. So if you have therapy, and therapy is all about the now and the future, but if you're always thinking about the past, then counselling is going to be better for you at first. So you do your counselling, which is more emotionally orientated. So you're going to have a lot of getting to know each other, talking about what the issues were, and then don't say coming to terms with it, just living with it, all right, with you. And then from your counselling, then you can move on to your therapy. Now, your therapy will depend on where you'll score on the different. We do these different questionnaires, and it takes you do a full assessment, take about an hour and a half, and then from there you can figure out where that person in front of you, does it need low intense therapy, which is more about your depression, your anxiety, mild to moderate, and then, or do they need high intense therapy, where you're looking at the PTSD, or maybe the core values. Why am I doing X, Y, and Z? Drugs. Why am I, sleeping around? Why do I hate myself so much? It's more like your core beliefs. Why do I think this about me? That'll be high intense. So it all depends on your therapist as well. So when I had therapy years ago, I didn't really connect with my therapist. and then the next one I did. So I always have the understanding that you need to connect with that person, because if you don't connect with your therapist, you know what I mean, you're not going to take on the coping strategies and what they're going to tell you, male or female. So you need to it's a bit of an art, really, and you need to understand where you are in this order, because if you just go straight for therapy and you've got all the stuff going on in the background, then this might not work for you. So it's really interesting. I've had loads of people come in front of me, and it's like, right, okay, then let's go back and let's do that. Let's revisit this in 6 months' time, in a year, and that's what happened. So, yeah, it's all interesting stuff, but there's loads of stuff out there for veterans. There really is. Hopefully, you could have a look at your local surgery and see if they have like the veterans tick, if you will, and they support veterans like ours does. I work for 2 great surgeries, and any veteran that comes into us, they get seen within 2 weeks, and then they come see me. Sometimes they might not want to speak to me, all right, for whatever reason. I might have surgery with them, or they just want to speak to a civilian. Usually they'll want to speak to me because we understand the lingo. But check on your local surgery if they do that. What is the policy for a veteran? And then you can refer to a surgery, or you can do it through Op Courage or whatever it may be. And that's also the hard thing for veterans. It's really hard for them to go forward and ask for help. And that's what I talked about at the beginning. That's where I think the missing link is. We need to grab hold of them and, you know what I mean, do that check. Somebody phone up. Are you all right? How's it going, mate? What have you been up to? I've not been really doing much. I've been sofa surfing, been taking drugs. And then you can guide them into it. And that's what I think's missing. That's why there's so many. I think there's over 1,000 military charities on at the moment. It might be 1,100. But if there's over 1,000 military charities in the UK alone, there's something going wrong. There's something missing, and that's what I think. And it's not the silver bullet, clearly, but there is something missing. That's why we're doing this show, and that's why, you know what I mean, it's until something happens. Until they really, really shake down, and it's not blue sky thinking this, and really to get to the nitty gritty of it, we're going to go around this boy, and I'm hoping that things like this show and people that are doing good like you with the village and Andy and Rio just shines a light on it, and we just keep going. That's what it's all about. It's just keeping going, talking about it like we're doing now, and just putting pressure on the people that make the changes. All right, and it is the politicians. It's horrible to say, but that's where the changes make. I've tried to go low on certain things and go to units, all right, and go and then start that way, but they don't have the power. They really don't. You've got to go high, and it's got to be from the top, and it's got to then filter down to the bottom through let's say the Forces Covenant, through some sort of policy or regulation, or even just guidance. If I think units get guidance on some sort of welfare check, other COs will copy it as good as best practice. So I think that's where we are. But going back to your therapy question, there's different sorts.
Yeah. I was going to say one thing I want to say as well. What I found, a lot more people are getting better and more open about the mental health. So when in my era, especially in my early days, like in the early 2000s, mental health, obviously this was like just before Iraq, when Iraq just started kicking off in Afghan. But I found that a lot of people back then, when we first joined the forces, a lot would be able to relate. It was kind of like, you don't be weak, kind of like you didn't want to be. It was seen like we were kind of drummed in it. It was weak kind of thing. But then, luckily, that culture's not there anymore, thankfully, and people now say, look, I suffer mental health, I suffer anxiety. But back, it used to be kind of like drilled into you that you're a soldier and you're rough and tough and all this kind of stuff. When actually, and I'm glad that persona's gone now. Where if you went to the med centre, you wouldn't feel embarrassed to say I'm suffering with mental health. Back in the early 2000s, if you wanted to go to the med centre, you'd feel a bit embarrassed to say, "Go, stop being a melt." Do you know what I mean? And I'm glad that culture's gone. Well, as far as I've seen, it's much. People are much more open about suffering mental health now than what they were 25 years ago.
Obviously, when I joined up in 2000, I deployed to Iraq in 2003 during the conflict. Obviously, a lot of people now, they wish they went on a combat tour, which I always turn around to them and say, if I had the choice now, I wouldn't go on there, because you do things and see things that you're not meant to see as a human being, and it's something you can't unsee. I was quite lucky that when I went into my therapy side of things and the latter end of my career, that I had CBT, PT, and EMDR. Not all of it worked, but EMDR side of stuff did work, and it gave me the coping mechanisms. But back then in 2003, when you came back off tour, you had your 2 days in Cyprus just on the piss, and then you were let back into civilian sort of surroundings. There was no sort of briefing at the end to go to check in to make sure that you're all good. That stuff's starting to happen now, but yeah, it's still not enough.
So I didn't get decompression when I come back from Iraq, 2004. I literally, don't get me wrong, it changed later on. We got decompression, but originally we just got back. I literally got back. You kind of handed your weapon in, and then you were kind of like, right, go on for a month. And that was my. I didn't see anyone or anything.
No,
what I've found as well. Sorry.
I was going to say, I think when I got home, I went straight into London to a nightclub in SE1, and there was a song that sounded very similar to the IDF alarm. Hit the deck. There's me hiding away in a corner. My mates like that. What are you doing?
Go on, Adam. What was you saying?
Yeah, what I found is a lot, not all of them, a lot of my my patients, military patients or veterans, should say, a lot of them have got criminal records, and that's because you brought it to the forefront about decompression and stuff. So a lot of them would do tours of Iraq, Northern Ireland, any tour really, or just being in the military. All right, and like you talked about block parties and just getting drunk down Tidworth and probably the Ram and other places, Ainsbury and all the rest of it, getting into some sort of bother, and that was part of the culture, and probably still is that as well. And getting into a scrape, then you get you obviously getting in trouble with the police. You get a criminal record, and then that also, when you get into City Street, that then catches up with you. So a lot of them don't get jobs or can't get jobs because of the criminal record. And he's just misdemeanors as well. He might be, you know what I mean? I'm not saying a fight or an assault. You know what I mean? He's great. He's not. But what I'm saying is, I think it's then, you know what I mean, goes pretty big when you go for a job in Civvy Street. And a lot of my patients come and say, right, well, I've tried to get jobs, but I've got this on my record and I can't. And that's where it started to tumble down as well. How you get around that, I don't know. It's probably it starts with the culture within the forces and stuff. But I think that's going to be part of it, because like I said at the beginning, you are trained to kill the enemy. And that aggression is built up. Add alcohol to fuel to the fire, and then you're going to get issues in a bar. So I think that might be part and parcel of it. But they're one of the issues that I always come across. So luckily, in our surgery, we have an employment officer. So I get in touch with the employment officer with the veterans, and then he guides them to different jobs, which is great. So he's like the middleman from the veteran to the job, if you will, and then he ends up like coaching them into it and talking about the veterans to the actual company or wherever they're going. So that's something you could look into, anyone who's watching. If you are involved in surgeries, make sure you try and get an employment officer, which can be your link man, that can explain, all right, this is the guy who's coming for a job, he's a veteran, this is what's on his record, boom, and it just eases it into it, and it takes the pressure off the veteran, knowing full well that he's going to go for an interview and they pretty know a lot about him. So yeah, that's pretty good.
There was a question in there, guys, from, well, let me just find it. Adams put there, it's so sad we have to have charities to look after our own veterans instead of our government. But there was a question for each one of you want to answer. Can I ask sorry, let me get it up on screen. Can I ask each guy if they regret their service with how the country is at the moment? So we'll go to Nico first. Do you want to answer that question? The question's on the screen.
So I don't really tend to get into these kind of questions, and I'll tell you why. Firstly, I don't regret my service at all. It's made me who I am today. You know, all the highs, all the lows, like just the same with life. It doesn't matter everything that you go through is for a reason. It's for a purpose. That's what I strongly believe. But I don't regret my service at all. But the reason I don't really get into it is purely because, and some people might disagree with me here, is there's a lot of things in life we can't control, right? And what's going on around the world is one of them. And for me, not that it's not important, it is important what's going on, but I'd like to try and look after what I can look after. That's myself, my family, and the people I care about. I can't change what's going on across the seas, and what's going on in the world. So I tend to just really stay away from it. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who you think's the bad people, who you think the good people are. There's still a lot of innocent people dying. There's still women dying, children dying. It doesn't matter if you think they're on the bad side, the good side, or indifferent. There is so many people out there that are losing their life that shouldn't simply be losing their life. So yeah, but I don't regret my service at all.
Same question to you, Ricky.
Yeah, so same for me, really. So obviously, yes, when you join the army, you're serving your country, if you like, but at the same time, it is a job at the end of the day. So yes, we join the army, and yes, we're serving our country, but it is still just a job at the end of the day. So, like when I'm glad. I don't regret joining the army whatsoever. It's made me who I am today. And don't get me wrong, obviously, no one wants to suffer the mental health aspect that a lot of us suffer. But if I could do it all again, I 100% would go back and do what I did all over again. I really enjoyed my time in the army, made friends for life, and got to travel the world and do things that a lot of people would never get to do. As for the country, it's one of them again. I didn't do it. I didn't join the army to serve the government. It was never that. I didn't have a picture of Tony Blair in my wallet and kiss it before I went to bed on the night. Do you know what I mean? I've never really liked any of the governments that have been in power. However, I did it at the end of the day, and most would probably agree that when we're in the army, we're there. Our main thing is the people beside us. When we go on tour, we're a team, and all we think about is get the job done, get home safe, and that's it. We don't really think about we don't think about the politics or what's going on in our country. We just do our job and do it the best of our capability, isn't it?
Yeah, 100%. Same question to you, Adam, if you don't mind answering it.
Yeah. I don't regret joining the army. I have some regrets. Some of the things I've done in the army. I'll probably like everyone here. But yeah, no major regrets at all. Like somebody said, it's made me who I am. I came out of school with no qualifications, and I've got qualifications and met friends that are lifelong friends, which is amazing. I look back at it a little bit like it's a bubble. I'm thinking to myself, right, they can do so much being in the military, but when you're serving, you are focused, you're on, and you take the orders and you crack on, and you don't really look at Civvy Street, and you look at everyone else out there and going, they're not as good as us. But actually, when you become a civilian and become a veteran, you actually I started to look inside and go, do you know what? There is so much the army could learn from us vets. So I think we can do some change, not on the big scale, like all what's going on around the world, but doing this sort of thing. All right, there'll be somebody listening tonight. All right, we will do something. We'll change them. All right, for the better, for a positive. The things like building your village, that's positive. My team going to government, so we can do little things. And like I think it was Nico or somebody said on here, look at yourself first. All right, that's what I said to my patients. It's all about you. All right, it's all about you. Everything starts with you. All right, look after yourself first. It seems quite like, oh, okay, then that sounds a bit strange. I want to help X, Y, and Z. But if you look after yourself first, then you can look after other people. And I think that's where it starts. All right, yourself first, and then others. But we can make change, slow change. All right, and we just keep doing this sort of thing until we make massive changes. And I think in the future that will happen. But the military, I think there's so much in a bubble, looking after themselves, and they don't get veterans. All right, they don't get it until they leave. I've spoken to high-ranking officers in the military who basically will say, you've got all these charities going on, what more do you want? You've got Up Courage, you've got Up Valour, you've got many other ops, Up Fortitude for housing, what more do you want? So that's what that's pretty much what you get from someone who's serving. But then I've spoken to colonels who have left and gone, do you know what you've been talking about and going on for the last 3 or 4 years, I get it now. So it's that mindset I think we need to change. The people serving, to look at it, to come on this show, people who are serving, and to talk about it and to understand veterans while they are serving. Because if they can understand that while they're serving, I think that they'll start making change for the positive. But I think we're a long way from that, because as you know, when you're serving, and there'll be people watching this who are serving, every 2 years you change jobs. Every 2 years you're moving up, all right, and you don't really want to rock the boat. And because of that reason, you will turn to the right and you will march on, which is rightly so. All right. And it's that, I think, at some point, sometimes you need to look and go, you know what, let's have a look. I am going to get out of the army soon, or the Navy, the RAF. So I do need looking after. And I think that little bit of a mind switch, that little bit of a, all right, okay, reflection on this is going to happen in the future, I think that'll do the army or the forces a world of good.
Thanks for that, guys. I just wanted to read something out, so just bear with me a second. It's about the veteran, the veteran's funeral that hasn't got any family. Just wanted to put a picture up on the screen and read something out to see if we can get people down there to support him. He sadly passed away. Just bear with me a second whilst I find it on the screen. So there it is. I'll just get the link up. I know Ricky shared this on his wall as well.
I'll be there. I'm going to be there. So if anyone's
you're going to be there,
it'll be, yeah. It's only an hour down the road, so I'll be making it. So anyone who's there, if you see me, come and say hello.
Absolutely brilliant. So it's an appeal for people to attend the funeral of a veteran who has no family. A heartfelt appeal has been made for the members of the public to attend the funeral of a 91-year-old RAF veteran who has no surviving family. John Thomas Gray, originally from Bolden, Killarney, passed away on the 3rd of August with no relatives left behind. Only a few photographs were found among his possessions. Mr. Gray's funeral will take place at 9 a.m. on Wednesday, 3rd of September at South Shields Crematorium. Despite his service in the Royal Air Force, no standard bearer or bugler has been made available for the service. The Royal British Legion has said they are unable to assist without Mr. Gray's regimental number. Friends and organisers have described the situation as deeply sad and are calling on the community to come together to ensure Mr. Gray does not make his final journey alone. Richard Dalton Funerals and organiser Tracy Curran are appealing for anyone who can act as a standard bearer, particularly from the RAF or a bugler, to get in touch. Ex-service personnel and members of the public are also warmly invited to attend and pay their respects. The message from the organisers is clear. No veteran should go on his final journey alone. And the funeral details are dated September the 3rd. It's on a Wednesday, time 9 a.m. The venue's at South Shields Crematorium, and the contact is Richard Dalton Funerals, and the phone number is 0191 7070770, or Tracy Cullen. So yeah, I didn't know you were going to go down there, Ricky. That's really good. If you can get a couple of videos, that'd be excellent.
Yeah, well, I plan to, because I've like I say, I've organised. I've come across a few of these in my TikTok journey, should I say? And once I did a video and it blew up, and so many people turned up. It was fantastic. But I like to try and go if I can. Obviously, I'm not going to travel 5 hours for one. But if you know, within an hour or something, I'm happy to go along and show my support. Especially with my platform, I always try to do positive stuff, and you know, and so yeah, I'll definitely try and get there. So it shouldn't be a problem. I'm just worried about there's going to be thousands turn up, I reckon. So I'm just worried about getting parked. I'm thinking I'm going to have to get the train.
Yeah, I put this post on TikTok, and it's got me over like 800 subscribers in 24 hours. Like I think it's going to be big. I'm seeing it everywhere on social media. So if anybody can attend, guys, please do. I don't like it says in the post there, no veteran should go alone. He saved our country, so let's do something for him.
It'll turn out fantastic. I've seen it before where there's been no family, and then we've had like motorbikes, like a proper convoy of motorbikes. They've been unreal, honestly. When these kind of things go out, it'll be an absolutely amazing turnout, guaranteed.
I just wanted to thank Patricia Didinsky as well for informing me on that. She messaged me late last night, and we managed to get that out on all of our platforms. So hopefully we can have a big attendance. But we're coming up to the last 5 minutes. Dave, do you want to say anything? You got any questions for the lads? And we'll go around each one, see if they've got any last final comments or anything they want to say. I'm going to show Ricky's video again at Castle Court at the end as well, and the donation link in the description.
So mine would mainly be sort of in each one of you. So in your view, what was the hardest part about leaving the military and transitioning into civilian life? So I'll go with you, Ricky, first.
Yeah, so like obviously I did 12 years, but I still feel that you can take this is how I feel. I feel like you take the man out the army, but like taking the army out the man kind of, and I think that's why there's so many of us a veteran as like a community, and that's why my following, for example, is primarily a lot of veterans and serving soldiers, because it becomes a community, and so it's helped me a lot. Being on TikTok has helped me a great deal, because and a lot of veterans have reached out to me and said, Ricky, you've helped me with my mental health, especially during COVID, just having that, like, this veteran community. But I feel that when I left, it was the adjusting to civvy life. I hit the drink at first. Luckily I was working everything. I wasn't an alcoholic or anything, but I was drinking heavily and most nights, and it took me a while to go and get help. So I found that I was too proud. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I felt too scared to go and get help or whatever. And it took me to the stage of almost doing the unthinkable, should we say? And I went to the mental health place, and then eventually that's when I first took that step to actually speak to someone, and then finally get some therapy and to get medication, which I'm still on medication to this day. However, it was I think my PTSD didn't really kick in until I left the force. When I was serving, you've still got your mates there, you've got that environment, you've got the like-minded people who understand what you've been through and everything. But when you leave and you're in the big wide civvy world, people don't understand it, and you don't really speak to civvies about things that you've done and trauma. And so I found that you kind of bottle it up, and so then that's when my mental health took a bad turn, because of I didn't have that family anymore, you know. And I think that was the hardest thing was to reach out and get help. And my advice to anyone is, if you're suffering, don't be scared to go get help, because that's just don't be scared. Do you know what I mean?
But I think when you leave, obviously your mentality, it doesn't switch off, and that's where it can get tough. Civvy Street, it doesn't work the same way. The rules are completely different. The purpose as well, it's blurry. So that transition can be a real mental battle. It was for myself, and I've had to learn to adapt. I've been quite lucky in the way that the job I've gone into predominantly is ex-police and ex-military. So we've still got that dark humour, that mentality, but I have to also be mindful of who's around me as well, because it can get you into trouble. But that same question, if I ask Nico.
Yeah, so it's funny, like, right, with what Ricky's saying. Like, I honestly feel like I'm still in. I feel like I'm just on a really long period of leave. You know, it's really weird. Like, I feel like I'm almost gonna get a phone call from the regiment being like, mate, where have you been for the past year and a half? Do you know what I mean? But it's, you know, the hardest thing about transitioning is, I think it's having an understanding of where you are as an individual, right? So if you're struggling before you leave, make sure you seek some help before you leave. You know, like, it's fortunately the army's getting very good now at helping people and signposting people. So asking for help before you leave will get you in a good place for when you leave. You know, you'll be signposted in all the right directions. If, like myself, you're very stubborn and you like to learn the hard way, then when you leave, it's being very realistic with yourself. When I was going through my darkest time, especially when my partner left, you know, like I was sat in my attic with a rope around my neck, you know, like I didn't want to be here. And the only reason I didn't go through with it is because all I could hear was my little girl in my head. It's all I could fucking hear in my head. Sorry for swearing, but it was all I could hear in my head.
Right.
you know, going from 44 grand a year to earning £700 a month, it's hard, you know. You don't forget, you can have a plan A, B, C all the way through to Z. You know, it doesn't necessarily mean any of them are going to work. So it's making sure that you're in a good enough position that if something does go wrong, especially with your own mindset, with your own mental health, that you're in a good place to be like, right, we can attack this anyway. I'm very stubborn. I don't give up. So, you know, and I think that's the only reason why I'm still here to this day. But then asking for help, like I was using food banks, you know, and so it got to the point where I had to put my ego to one side. You know, my daughter's here. I've got a feeder. So I got some very good help from the British Legion. They paid for food for me for 3-4 months. You know, and initially I was really embarrassed talking about it. Like, you know, I'm a bloke, I'm a geezer. I'm meant to provide for my family, but I was in a position where I really couldn't. I really, really couldn't. So a point that was what I can't remember said, but it's a really good point. It starts with you. If you're struggling, you know, the only reason people go and get help is because they're ready to go and get help, in my opinion. Like, until you're ready to want to receive help, you're not going to go and seek it. So it's about sitting down with yourself realistically and being like, I've had enough, right? I've had enough. People always say, and I made a video about this, I think either today or yesterday, but we always talk about feeling ready. You know, I'm not ready to leave this relationship. I'm not ready to make this jump. You know, being ready is not a feeling, it's a choice. Like you can never feel ready. You've got to have that decision with yourself. It's about, right, I need to make a change. And for me, it was just looking back, reflecting on what's gone wrong, where's it gone wrong, what can I do to benefit myself? And if you do need to go seek help, seek help. You know, it's nothing to be embarrassed about. And please don't learn the hard way, because sometimes there's no returning from it.
But saying off what you've just said there, I wish going back in time that I had sought help a lot earlier. Obviously, going back to what Ricky was saying, mentality of the military back then was a lot different. I think after I came back from Iraq, I did sort of go to the med centre and go, look, something's not right. They referred me to DCMH, and then at that point they were like, no, just man up, get back to work. So I'm like, didn't question it, went, yeah, all right, carried on. It wasn't until 2019, 2020 where actually my wife started noticing different behaviours people did. That's where I then went, actually, no, I need to man up now and just admit something's wrong and get it sorted. And that's probably the best thing I ever did, because I was similar to yourself. I was at that point where there'd be no return. But now I'm utilising what I've learned from nearly committing suicide to now helping other people whilst helping myself as well, because I'm on a journey and I'd like to help other people by saying, look, I'm still here. I fought that battle. I'm still winning. I'm still here. So that brings me sort of...
No, sorry, I was going to say, I think that's really important because, you know, it comes, there's that analogy, isn't there? Why they tell you to put on your face mask first on the airplane, because, you know, if you can't help anyone else out, you know, you've got to be able to help yourself first before you start helping other people, you know. So when people sit there and they're panicking about what can I do for my family? I'm struggling to support my family, you know, I'm struggling myself, but you need to start with yourself. I just think that's a really important point to, you know, keep saying, because it always will start with yourself, you know. And so how can I help my family? Do something, help yourself. You know, I'm a big advocate for phys, not just because I was a PTI, but just going for a walk, just getting out, you know, being active. I don't mean going to the gym and getting up massive. I don't mean, you know, having to enter high rocks or do anything stupid out of this world. I just mean getting out, being active. You know, it's good to be in the fresh air. It's good to walk about in it. I really believe that people underestimate how much phys, like I said, whether it's a walk all the way through to putting yourself in the locker like I do, it's really beneficial for your mental health. It really is. But yeah, it always starts with you.
Yep. And then that brings me on to Adam. So again, your view, what was the hardest part about leaving the military and transitioning into civilian life?
Yeah, just touched on some of the points that the lads had brought out then. You like, it's all resonating with like people reaching out to the actual veteran, because it's really difficult sometimes to reach out. So I'm hoping that, you know, you guys on here and the people listening and obviously taking part in asking questions and that, really look at this welfare check and get on board with it, and just reflect after the show and just think, right, okay, then how can I get involved with this? Because the more people who talk about this welfare check, me and the team and other professionals really think it's going to work. That's the first thing. The next thing is, what did I find hard? I don't know. It was a bit of a weird one, really. I left from being like a captain, from being, let's say, the RCMO welfare officer, and then before that, Garrison Sergeant Major. So I was pretty much up there, and then going to a small college teaching health and safety. So I went from up there to, I won't say down there, but it came with a bit of a bang. And I really found that very, very strange and difficult. So I needed a bit of a mission, really. And this is where Andy comes in from Healthy Heroes. So obviously we've been mates from Afghan. So we was just chatting, thinking about, okay, then I won't mind doing something that's out of the ordinary. So if you didn't know, on the show, I was the first person to swim to the Isle of Man from the UK. So I've got a swimming background, and I started looking at it as I was in Civvy Street the first couple of months and thinking about what's going on here. And I lived near the sea. So I started doing a bit of research on it, and then COVID hit. So I started to plan it. So I had a mission, and that's what kept me busy. It kept me focused, and it was all about me. It was, and it comes back to yourself. It was like, right, okay, now can I sort myself out here? How can I keep focused? So I started to plan this swim to the Isle of Man, and that was with Healthy Heroes, and it was full of vets as well. All had issues: PTSD, depression, anxiety, alcohol, drugs. So we got together, and we all did it together, and we planned this mission. And then I was successful. I failed the first time. And then reflected on it, and then we changed the plan and all the rest of it. And then I was successful, so I became the first person to swim to the Isle of Man. But that was my focus. So my little top tip is, when you get out, think about something for yourself. All right, whatever it may be, like Nico said, some sort of fitness, some sort of, I don't know what it is, but something that resonates with you. And then really knuckle down to it, and it can be not as big as that, it can be anything, something small, but something that you can get your teeth into. All right, because you're going to be doing other stuff, trying to find work, reflecting, or trying to connect with family, which is all part and parcel of it, but you need something for yourself as well. So I think the biggest thing is just think about it. Think about, okay, what am I into? What makes me happy? And if it's whatever it is, then you start looking into that. So I would do that. But yeah, if I didn't have that, then unsure what would happen.
One other thing before we go. Sorry, one other thing I was going to say that we all probably still struggle with today. Every one of us is walking on grass. I still can't walk on grass. Like, if I walk on grass, I'm like, I'm checking my apps. Like,
I've told many people for walking on grass as the Garrison Sergeant Major. I know exactly.
Yeah, I still struggle with that.
It seems as you've all answered as well, and Dave's answered as well. I'll answer it as well. I struggled. I was dishonorably discharged from the army. I took it to tribunal. It took me 4 years and 10 months to actually to get this police caution overturned. My story is on one of the other videos. So that after the tribunal, they give me an offer. They give me an offer of, I think it was about £80,000. So I took it to the second stage of tribunal. I was told, and I think I came away with £140,000 compensation, because they realised that my discharge was wrong. So that sort of set me back and distrusted the system and stuff like that. And I really struggled, because the camaraderie you have with your mates and your muckers and the laughs and the drinks, it just all gone. And I was left to fend on my own on the street with this discharge. So like, I just went down this rabbit hole of taking cocaine and getting worse, and on taking crack cocaine. I'm not afraid to say it now, because you know I'm on the right path, and I'm doing really, really well. And the reason why I come out and be open and honest with it is because if there are veterans out there struggling with drug addictions or alcohol addictions, feel free, reach out. If I can say it and come through the other side. And we had Paul Headley on the last show, episode 68, telling his story. It was incredible. If we can do it, you can do it. I'm not ashamed of what I've done or my past, because it's made me who I am today. And you know, I'm proud of what I've done. and some things I'm not proud of what I've done, but I'm proud of who I'm becoming. So I just thought I'd answer that question as well. Does anybody else want anything to say before I'm going to show Ricky's video again? I said I'll show it at the start and show it at the end, and I will put up the donation link. It's for Castle Court. Does anybody want any last words?
No, well, thanks for sharing that. That's good. Thanks.
Yeah, respect to you for that.
Yeah,
I'll
no
quickly
problem.
say I'm proud of what I've done, even though I was RMP. Just had to say it.
Red cap. So I'm just going to put Ricky's link there. Please support Ricky at Castle Court Veterans Village. Oh, I've missed out the E. Sorry, guys. The donation link is there. I have put it in the chat. I'm going to show the video again. And if you want to, if you haven't seen the full show, go back to the start and Ricky explains it into more detail. So just bear with me. I'm going to play this and then I'm going to end the show. And I just want to thank you all for coming on, guys. This has been an absolute incredible show. We've had plenty of comments and plenty of questions in the background. So thank you.
So, guys, just a little update on Castle Court, Homeless Veterans Village. See how we're getting on. So this is our like courtyard area, if you like. Obviously, it's all plain at the moment, like a blank canvas, because we want the people in here to make it home and, you know, plant plants or whatever, and make it nice. Got all the lines painted now for the parking, and this will be the main reception I'm coming up to now. Obviously, all that there is all accommodation. So this is main reception. So you'll come through these doors. Obviously, there'll be thingy secured here. That's like the reception window, if you like, and that'll be where the staff are. And there'll be other offices. Yeah, so it's like the main reception, like a little area in there. And then we're going to have all like other staff storage and all this kind of stuff in these rooms here and offices. As I've said, a little bit of a mess at the moment, but this is the main communal room where you can sit and watch TV, chill out. This will all be like kitchen area. And through there would be all kitchen area. And again, I've not showed these rooms before, but just if anyone hasn't seen, this is like a standard room. And like, look at the view there. Absolutely beautiful where we're located. And then nice big shower there. Ensuite, beautiful. Another one of the rooms here. Again, all these chairs have been donated. If anyone does want to donate, the link is in my bio in the link tree to help us kit out the rooms with cupboards and beds, etc. for the homeless.
I think you're on mute, mate.
There's been some good chats there. I can't thank you enough for coming on. Any last words from anyone before I play the video of finishing the show? Is everyone happy?
Yep, thank you.
Okay. No, cheers, guys. Good night. It's episode 69 of the Late Night Veteran Show.
I pledged allegiance to the flag God stood beside me. I swore an oath to my countrymen and kin. Side by side we sang our anthem oh so proudly. And this is where a soldier's tale begins. We left for foreign shores in the name of freedom. Comrades in arms for the liberty of man. Shoulder to shoulder, but still could not redeem them. In God's name, but no one could understand.
Thank you very much, guys. Episode 69 of the Late Night Veteran Show. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Good night to you all. Good night, guys.
Night, mate.
Night.
Night.
Nearly there. End stream. Let's close it. It won't end. End stream.